What's going on, everyone? Kenan here. It's time for another Ask Kamp Kenan question. Today's question is from one of our Patreon supporters. He's going by the name Alex. Hey Alex, what's happening? And Alex asks, hey Kenan, can I use Missouri tortoise diet for my redfoots, Hartmans Tortoise, and star tortoises? And yes, you can, but he's also got a second part of the question, and he asks also, can he actually use it for young tortoises, and how much should he feed his young tortoise, or how much should you try and guess how much they should feed or feed those animals? Excuse me, I'm sweating as always, and I'm gonna tell you. But the first things first, we're gonna walk around. I'm gonna show you just how many tortoises absolutely love this stuff. And not only tortoises, but the lunatics like these rhino iguanas who are gonna come running over here and attack me if I don't get this out quick enough. Let's get some down. So these are Hartmans Tortoise, okay? And these guys are what you would call a grassland grazer. And they actually really love the Missouri. They don't eat it exclusively, of course, and you don't want to feed just one food to your animal. No matter what animal it is, you want to make sure that you're giving them a varied diet. But today they're getting a Missouri treat. Now, sometimes you can soak the stuff if you want to get more water into the animals, and that'll help you hydrate them and make sure that they're getting enough moisture in their diet. Or in this case, I'm just throwing down the nuggets and they can kind of get to it. Now, my rhino iguanas love it as well. And as you know, rhino iguanas and tortoises have very similar diets as they're herbivores. So I've been feeding it to them for a long time as well, and they certainly do enjoy it. So you can feed it to a whole host of different tortoises, but you got to also understand, guys, the reason that sometimes people think you shouldn't feed Missouri to the tortoises is because some people get lazy and they wind up thinking that they can feed that exclusively, and that is not good. I don't care if you're feeding them the healthiest food on earth. If you just feed your tortoise one thing, they're not going to be happy animals after a little bit of time, because as we know, it's all about a varied diet. Now with these cherry head tortoises, they're very similar to the redfoots, which we'll get to in a minute. I like to sprinkle it around and allow them to kind of search for it. This is a pine needle substrate. I'm not worried about them ingesting anything that could harm them. These guys just absolutely love this stuff. And you can see a young guy here. What's up? Sometimes I might take it and I crush it in my fingers like this. Oh, and then I can give it to this little one. Hey, come here, little one. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Get on over there. There you go. You break it up a little bit and then they're able to just swallow it right down. And I really love feeding, because when you're feeding your animals like this, it's a good time for you to actually see who's eating, who's not. Are they healthy? Are they moving around, being excited? Because as we know, when tortoises and other animals eat, they get very excited. So you want to make sure that they're moving around and doing their thing. And these kind of interactions really afford you that ability to make sure the animals are doing everything they're supposed to be doing. Now let's head over. You can see, oh, look at this. Hey, that's a surprise. What's up, mama? Really glad you're doing what you're doing. I'm not gonna bother you with food right now, as you're probably in an egg trance, and she's starting to dig this little nest, so I'm really excited about that. Look, here's a test nest. She went ahead and dug a test nest, and now she's actually digging the real thing, so that's exciting. I've been getting a lot of cherry head eggs over the last few weeks, and I'll be getting more all the way up until December, so these guys are in the middle of their egg laying season. And here are some of the beautiful and personable elongated tortoises. So again, I just like to sprinkle this stuff out. I let the tortoises do their natural foraging behavior, and it's a great way for them to use those really, really strong noses to get on out here and to make sure that they're eating. So again, I like to spread it out, and then I'll probably come back and I'll just make sure all the animals are moving about. Now with large collections like this, it's something that you have to do. You have to make sure your animals are all moving around healthy and they're doing their thing. So I just spread it around, and like I said, in about 5 minutes there's gonna be tortoises absolutely everywhere. And as you know, the redfoots over here, they are not shy when it comes to eating. So Alex, you've been asking me, how do you do it? How do you feed these animals? Or rather, are they able to eat the stuff? And yes, they are. So I'm throwing this stuff over here and they'll all come out and about. They always go to that red bucket that I have but I like to get it all out here so these guys can really mow it down. Now, as far as star tortoises, they'll love this stuff as well. Also, you had a question about how do you know how much to feed young tortoises like hatchlings. What I would do with hatchlings, and what I've often told people, is I like to feed them as much food as they are big. So if your tortoise is about this big, give it that much food, and then watch it eat, and then kind of time it. If the animal can consume all that food in 5 minutes, that's as much food as you should be giving it. But if it leaves some of the food on the plate or on the feeding area, then I would start to kind of scale back on how much you actually feed them. And I like to feed my hatchlings either a little bit every day, or you can feed them larger meals every other day. And that should be the way that you're able to figure out how much to feed your baby tortoise. Now, as far as the Missouri, you probably want to take maybe a few of them like this, soak them, get them moist. They expand quite a lot. So I would only give a few pellets to a hatchling, probably only 2, to be perfectly honest. That would be my recommendation. Again, see how much they can eat. If they finish that all in 5 minutes, add another nugget and make sure it's soaked. This way, the animal isn't overeating, because reptiles, especially tortoises, like to eat when the getting is good, because in the wild, they may encounter times of famine. And so they are really good about storing food as fat. And in a captive situation where they're eating all the time, the food that they're not using will be stored, and you can get an obese tortoise, or you could possibly get a tortoise with raised pyramids because they're eating too much of a very nutrient-dense diet. And Missouri is loaded with a lot of nutrients. So you want to make sure that you use it sparingly, and never use just one type of food. Never rely on one type of food, or else your animal could, hey, don't you bite him. Never use one type of food, because what can happen is the animal will then become dependent or addicted to only one type of food. And in that situation, you may wind up with a tortoise like Lego. Lego is, of course, a beautiful tortoise, but he's got some issues. And this little guy has metabolic bone disease, and he came to me almost a year ago. And obviously, this animal wasn't fed the right diet, didn't have the right husbandry, but I kept him as a cautionary tale to show you what can happen to your tortoise if not fed the proper diet or given the proper UVB, moisture, and other requirements that these animals absolutely have to have. Now, the good news is that Lego is doing well. He's integrated nicely into the tribe, and I'm very happy about that. And I'm happy that you guys are getting a chance to see him doing so well. So there you have it. There's your question answered. I hope it's helped you out, Alex. Thanks for being a Patreon supporter. For those of you out there who are not Patreon supporters, do us a favor. Head on over to patreon.com/Kamp Kenan, and you can become a supporter. And what that does is it allows you to interact with me on a different level. You'll also see things that no one else can see, new content, and good deals on other things that we might be giving away. So why don't you go on over there and check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. And as always, hit the notification button so you can find out when I'm uploading new videos all the time. All right, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Hope you learned something today. And let's do our best to keep these animals happy and healthy.